Hi everyone, my name's Barclay Loggie and welcome to a new tutorial. Today's tutorial or demo is going to be a fairly quick one. We're going to make a pair of earrings. These are the earrings here that we're going to make using SuperDuos, some fire polish and normal seed beads, and at the bottom here I've got a little Swarovski Pear drop. So I've got them in my ear as well, just to give you an idea of the size. I think they're quite elegant. I love the colours, especially now that in the UK here we're moving into autumn, but perfect for summertime as well. So it's a quick, easy make and we'll get going. Starting with what we're going to need to make this pair of earrings. I've got 4mm fire polish beads here, and these are a lovely turquoise Picasso colour. It's a really subtle turquoise and it's got the Picasso finish on it. I've got these Swarovski Pear drops, so these measure 10mm from the top to the base, and the drill hole is from the pointed tip through to the rounded bottom. If I just pop my needle through that, you'll be able to see. So they're 10mm in size. I've then got two size 11 seed beads. I've got my Duracoat Galvanised Champagne. This lovely one is called Metallic Chocolate. Then I've got some SuperDuos here, and they are crystal pale gold bronze, sorry. And the size 8 seed beads, two different colours. I've got the Duracoat Galvanised Champagne to match the 11 that I've used here. And these are the Seafoam green Picasso beads. They're a matte finish. Then you'll need some shepherd hooks. You'll need some fire line or wildfire, whatever your preferred thread is. I've got 6-pound fire line here in crystal in the white colour. I'm using a size 10 beading needle. I always use 10s because the eye of the needle is the biggest and easiest for my eyes to thread. And I've got a thread zapper to end off my threads. I'll pop all these colours and what I've used in the description of the video. Of course, you can use whichever colourway you want to make this earring or this pair of earrings out of, depending on what you've got in your stash. So we're ready to go. I've got everything out, and although we're using lots of different components, we're using very few of them to make these earrings. And a little top tip before we start, and this is particularly true of SuperDuos, just poke your needle through both sides of the SuperDuo of all the ones you're going to use. There's nothing more frustrating than when you get halfway through a design and you're using the upper hole of the SuperDuo to find it's been blocked by the coating. So if you just poke through each side of your SuperDuos before you start, you're not going to find that one of the holes is clogged up with the coating halfway through your design. You need about 1/2 meter of your chosen thread on your needle, and we're going to start with the fire polish beads. We're going to pick up all 4 of them together. So these were the turquoise Picasso finish. Just get them all on my needle. And you're going to move them down towards the end of your thread. There's no stopper bead on here, so don't slide them all the way off your thread. And where you're near the end, you just need a little bit of a tail that you can tie off. So start by doing a normal overhand knot, and then the second time you tie it, you take your thread through the loop once and through the loop a second time. That is known as a surgeon's knot in the beading world. Don't know if it's a surgeon's knot in the medical world, but it is in the beading world, and it's pretty secure. So just so that I don't inadvertently snip that knot off when I'm getting rid of my tail, I'm going to pass my needle through the very next fire polish bead, and that will pull my knot into the bead and keep it safe. Right, so that is our very center of our earring that we can see there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 of our SuperDuos, and because they're the same, backwards, frontwards, left and right. It doesn't matter which order or how you pick them up. I've got 3, and my thread is exiting this fire polish here. It's exiting the base. I'm going to go back through the fire polish from the top to the base. And those 3 SuperDuos will sit above that fire polish bead. I've now got to make my way from the first fire polish to the second. And to bridge that little gap, I'm going to pick up 111 in the metallic chocolate, 18 in the Picasso Seafoam, and another 11 in the metallic chocolate. And I'm just going to pass the needle straight through the next fire polish. Now I want that 8 to be at the tip, so I'm just with my fingers pulling the 8 out so that it forms a little point, and the little 11 sits snugly alongside the 2 fire polish beads. So we've just come through a fire polish. We're going to pick up 3 SuperDuos again. 1, 2, 3, and pass the needle back through the fire polish. And you've got your next 3 SuperDuos sitting on top of the fire polish. Bridging the gap to the next fire polish was an 11, an 8, and an 11, and straight through fire polish bead number 3. Remember, you want that 8 to form the point and the 2 11s to sit snugly between the fire polish beads, so just pull it in. And I'm going to repeat that sequence twice more with the SuperDuos around the top of the fire polish, and then bridging the gap between the 2 fire polish, and I'll come back to you so that we can do the next round together. I've just added my last 3 SuperDuos, but I haven't bridged the gap between the 3rd or the 4th and the 1st fire polish that I used. So I just need to finish off with an 11, an 8, and an 11, and I'm going to pass through that fire polish bead, which was the very first one that I took the SuperDuos around. And again, it's a little bit fiddly, but you just want to get those seed beads sitting in the right place. So there you have the start of your earring. We're now going to start filling in the gaps. So I'm going to come through the little chocolate 11 that sits just on the other side of the SuperDuos, and through the turquoise 8. And I now am going to use the empty holes on my SuperDuos that are here. So I need to bridge a little gap between that 8 and the first SuperDuo, and I'm going to use a metallic chocolate 11. So I've come out of the Seafoam Picasso 8, and I'm going into the top hole of the very first SuperDuo that I get to. And now I've got to bridge the gap between the SuperDuos, and I'm going to do that with an 8. So 1 8 between those 2, and 1 8 between the next 2. So it just closes off all the gaps and there's no thread showing. So now I've got to come from the top hole of the SuperDuo down to the 8, and I'm going to use one of my metallic chocolate 11s, pass through the 8, and another 11 to pass back up to the next SuperDuo. And we're going to do everything in one now. So if we bring this one in here, this section that we've just completed here is this side on the earring. And we're now coming down to these bottom SuperDuos here, where we're going to complete this lower end here. So again, I need to bridge the gap between the SuperDuos, and I'm going to do that with the Picasso 8s. One between the first 2, one between the second 2. Now I need to get back round to the base here so that I can add in my Swarovski crystal. Just need a bit more thread. So I'm going to pass through the lower holes of my SuperDuos. Just getting back to the other side, and you may be able to pass through more than one at a time. And I'm coming back up through the top hole now, because I want to get to that outer edge. And I'm going to pass through the very first Picasso 8. So now you can see my thread is exiting at the base of my work here, ready to put on my Swarovski crystal. And to do that, I'm going to pick up one of the Duracoat Galvanized Champagne 8s, and I'm going to drop that down. I'm then going to thread on my pear drop from the skinny pointed tip down to the rounded base. And I need like a stopper bead to turn around and go back through the crystal. So I'm picking up a Champagne Gold 11. And I'm going to pass my needle over that 11. I'm not going back through it because then it would just pop off again. But I'm going to go back through the pear drop. And you can see how that little 11 forms a little stopper on the end there. And we're going to continue beading round to this side now, but I need one more of my gold 8s before I pass through the Picasso Seafoam 8 on the other side, and that will just even up the edges. So when I pop that down, you can see how neatly the pear drop has been added there. Right, so we're ready to continue now around to this left-hand side of the earring. So I'm going to come through the top hole of the SuperDuo. And now I need to bridge the gap down to that 8, and I'm going to go back to the 11s in the metallic chocolate. Pick up one, go through the 8, and pick up one more, and pass through the empty hole of the next SuperDuo. And now we're bridging the gap between the SuperDuos on the side here, and we're using the Picasso Seafoam. So 1 8 between the first two, and one more 8 between the next two. So if I pop that down again, you can compare the two together. So we've done the right-hand side, the base, the left-hand side. All that's left to do is the top and attaching our ear wire. So we're now going to get up to the top to attach our shepherd's hook. And to get there, I need one of my metallic chocolate 11s to pass through that Picasso Seafoam 8. And one more to pass up through the first SuperDuo that forms the top link there. I'm still going to need to bridge the gap between those SuperDuos, so I'm going to use a Picasso Seafoam to bridge the first gap. But while I'm at the top there, I'm going to do the little attachment of the shepherd's hook. So to do that, I'm going to use 3 of my size 8 Duracoat Champagne seed beads, and I'm passing the needle back through, so it exited the right-hand side of the middle SuperDuo, and I'm coming back through the SuperDuo from the left-hand side, and you'll see it forms a neat little point above that SuperDuo. I'm going to go back through the first two, so I'm exiting the 8 that's at the very top, and I'm going to pick up 2 of my Duracoat Champagne 11s, drop them down. I'm going to pass through the loop of my shepherd's hook, and I'm going to pass back down through that first 11 that's closest to the shepherd's hook. Pull your thread in, and I need just one more of the Champagne 11s before I can pass back through that 8 that was sitting on the top. So I'm going back through it from the opposite side. Don't get your thread caught like I have just done. So you've got a little point that you made with the 8s and then an even smaller one that you made with the 11s before attaching your ear wire. So now I've got to come back down through the last remaining 8 and back through that middle SuperDuo. And you can see we're nearly there now. We've just got to finish off bridging the gaps at the end here. So we've got another Picasso 8, which is going to go straight through that last hole of the SuperDuo. And you can see I've got nothing bridging the gap here between the SuperDuo and the 8/0. So that was my metallic chocolate 11s that I've been using. And I'm going to pass back down through the 8. And you can see that my earring is now complete. All that's left for me to do is to end off my thread. So my advice to you is, there are no rules for this, but this is what I would do. I would take the thread, pass through the beads until you're exiting near one of the larger beads. And this will be where you do your double half hitch. So you pass your needle under the thread that forms the connection between that 11 and the SuperDuo. You form a loop with your thread and pass your needle through it. That's known as a half hitch, and a double means you do it twice. So again, you pass the needle under the thread bridge, you form a loop with your thread, pass the needle back through the loop and pull tight. And that's your double half hitch. And just as we did at the very beginning when we passed through a bead to pull our knot into the bead so that we didn't risk chopping it off, I'm doing exactly the same here. I've pulled it through into the SuperDuo. So just to be safe, I'm going to do another double half hitch on this side between the SuperDuo and the 8. There's my first half hitch, and I need to do it again to make it a double. And again, I would just pass my needle through the next couple of beads, which will pull that knot into the beads. And then I am ready to end off my thread, or to zap it off or snip it off, whatever you've got to use. And there you have your set of earrings, and I'm calling them the Jewel of the Nile earrings. And it's a really quick make. It's lovely to be able to do something quick and easy because a lot of our seed beading takes so much time. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and I'll be back soon with more. So please remember to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It just means that you'll be notified when I next upload some new material. Any questions, pop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye.